What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Some music playing on the background in Buffalo. How is it going, Dustin?
Going good, Phil. How you doing? Did you say you can hear music in the background?
Yeah, something was like I don't know
Oh,
if people
that might have
people
been the notification that I got. Just turn it down. I'm doing good, Phil. How you doing, man?
yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been something like a year or something.
Has it really?
Yeah, maybe even more. Yeah, last time I was making the videos it was like August or something, maybe May. I was filming a bunch of crap in St. Petersburg, and I got like out of storage actually, and um, some nice things by the way. So might as well do a video soon on St. Petersburg if I have my notebook fixed because my video graphic adapter is also fucked up. So sorry guys, I'm gonna be a little bit more, rude this time. So it's 18 plus for everybody. Get your kids off the screen.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. So it's good. Thanks for having me back, and welcome to everybody in the chat. I see Morning Glory in there.
The KGB agent.
KGB Totality. What's up? So yeah, it's been a while. I didn't realize it was over a year, Phil. So let's get some formalities out of the way. Things have been going good for me. Still working
Yeah.
from home with the
All these
family.
eight, all these 9 viewers can actually ask questions because we might as well look at the chat. So,
Yeah.
what are you up to actually? What are you guys doing now? What are you researching? What is the mainstream research frame that you guys have right now?
Yeah. If anybody has questions, throw them in the chat. It's kind of going to be like an open, I guess, like open forum, you say, Phil. And then questions about like what our perspectives are on the main the main tenets of whatever Tartaria or mud flood. Our perspectives. Phil and I might not agree on everything, and also we didn't agree on everything before. So we think that this will be a good example to set to where a couple dudes who have similar interest in research in the old world can have difference of opinion and professionally talk it out and still have a difference of opinion and not agree on everything, which is healthy.
Okay, since you don't want to announce the secret research topics that you do, guys, right now, let's just talk on these topics that we disagree. What is the first topic you think that we disagree on?
Well, that's like open ended, I guess. Maybe I don't know. I would say, like I said earlier, where I was going back through our old episodes, and again, I apologize if stuff got lost in translation because it seems sometimes I wasn't necessarily understanding entirely. But what we might differ on maybe is the mechanism of the mud flood, or we can talk
Okay,
about it, talk it through.
okay. What
Was
do
it
you
a
think we disagree on the mechanism?
well? I don't think it's. I don't want to be combative right off the jump, man. But I don't believe. Let's start off with that. I don't think that it was a realm wide. You might hear me say realm wide. That's synonymous with global. Okay, right? Right off the jump. In my opinion, I don't think it was a realm wide inundation of mud to
So
where
we
some
agree. So we agree on that. Okay. So what do we
boom.
disagree on?
Oh, I don't, I'm not saying we disagree. It seems like maybe we did have some points that we disagreed about before, and we worked through them. So
Okay.
it doesn't need to be the main focus on and highlighting stuff that we disagreed on. But so the other facet of the old world research is the Tartarian buildings, and was it a realm wide empire offering benevolent energy? Uh, all these buildings were made by giants. These buildings were here. These grandiosity buildings were here in America prior to the Columbian Exchange. I disagree with that. Maybe there were some buildings, but not all built out like the Pan Am expositions. But I could be wrong. I tend to agree with what Wood and Nichols and AWAR have been saying, and I've been right along with them in that boat ever since they did their flip
Ah,
flopping, and that's a lot of conjecture.
who was saying the opposite actually?
You're gonna ask me to say names and rattle. Okay, who was saying the opposite
No,
of
you
what?
you saying that you disagree with me. I'm just waiting for something
Oh, I
that
was
we
saying
disagree on.
All I was pointing out is that if we do disagree on something, which we have in the past, we're able to talk about it like men and not talk through it. That's all I was getting at with that. So if I misspoke in that context, that's what I meant.
Okay, since we don't disagree on anything, do we
Well, what do you
agree?
think about the Tartarian buildings? And let's get your angle on
What
it. I
the?
just said,
Yeah, I'm always saying Tartaria wasn't the worldwide thing. I was the one that was saying it from the day one. Never was the world thing. There was something prior to that, and it was called Empire. In the name of Perun. It's only in the Vedic knowledge. If you read it properly, you'll find that.
the Vedas.
Also in the Vedic knowledge, yeah, it was called Rus, and then you find the same Rus in the Bible as the Duke of Rus. What the fuck? I mean, nobody is actually. And then we go back and forth with that, and we found out that that's the same, terminology that we use today, and it's equivalent to the color of the blood, actually, the red color. So it was a red color empire, red color blood empire, you know.
Familiar.
So you have to understand that. And then we found out that all these so-called parasites, I don't know if we agreed on that, came actually and took the power from them.
I don't.
And we have separation of that. Countries started to separate, and then we have countries, because country is not a separate subject. It's not a sovereign state. It's actually governed by one single resident or prime minister, which is responding to somebody higher than him, like monarch or king, right? Do we agree on that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Well, we agreed on what you just said about how they move from monarch and empires into states and countries. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's what we see today. We can go to the past and go to the future, and we see the same process. Is one big, really big motherfucker getting split up like that in slices, and these slices are getting split up like this in very thin slices, which are called counties, right? Or districts, whatever you call it. Okay, this is how they govern it. And one big motherfucker still left, you know where it's located. It's a little bit not as big as it was, because it was every fucking where, and now it's just little piece that is not controlled, like Iran, maybe partly Russia, and some other states.
So you do think it was a realm-wide, cohesive, not empire, but organization of benevolent tribes and culture? And was it all called Tartaria, or were there things like what I'm getting into, more cultures here in pre-Columbian America? Obviously, I have a proclivity for the Vikings. It's my heritage, but I'm also in a good spot in Buffalo to be able to track on that and actually do field work and get out in a long. That's another thing. I put a lot of hypotheses out there since we talked. I think that the Vikings were here in with established trade routes prior to pre-Columbian, the Columbian Exchange.
What did Vikings look like?
You're looking at one, bro.
No, they were looking, like Caucasian bearded man, right?
Right, and then when you said Roost, actually that is derivative that comes from King Rurik when he went down into the rivers of Siberia and into Russia. So with that information, so the Vikings are Caucasian, obviously, right? Fair-skinned, and Northmen.
So let's stop on that. Caucasian. Where's Caucasus?
Caucasus are by southeastern or southeastern Europe, southeastern Europe, Black Sea area. Yeah,
Black Sea.
The Caucasus.
Recently, maybe 2-3 years ago, prior to pandemics, everybody heard me right. Pandemics.
It's your channel.
Fuck that. My channel is done, guys, by the way, so we might as well make a new one soon. So I might, I'm eager to get 1 or 2 strikes. So what the
Let me
fuck?
know. I'll help you share it.
Yeah. Don't even send this fucking money to Google, guys. Don't do that. They don't give me a fucking penny.
Send it to my channel. Super thanks
Yeah.
me. I'll take it, Phil.
Just send it to Berserker. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Where
what
we
I'm
at?
saying, actually, it's 8 in the morning or something where I'm at,
Oh,
and
we had
it's
a
eight
question.
in. Yeah.
Want to put it
Let's
up?
see.
Peter Bagshaw says, "Do you follow Paul Cook? And if
Uh,
so,
do
how
you?
do you like his direction?" You can answer that first, since you.
I never seen a video of him except
Oh,
maybe one.
I'll send it to you. He's pretty good researcher. Yes, I do follow Paul Cook. I do like his research, for sure. As far as his direction, yeah, I think it's great. Um,
What is the
uh,
ideas of his research? Can
well,
you like 1, 2, 3 his
yes,
ideas?
the
What is
main
he
tenets
saying?
are he's very good at the outcroppings that people are saying that geologists will say are strata outcroppings of bedrock. He's hip to the game because he was in Malta for 6 years. He's field work out there. What he's saying is that it might not be bedrock and what we're told geology and sedimentation, that it's actually geopolymer and could more than likely be poured. Like they take the earth that's around it, they crush it up down into powder, and use a certain type of glue or an aggregate that makes it similar to the rock that they took the rock from, but it's a geopolymer now. And there's a certain type of glue in there that makes it as hard as what it was prior.
So what's the
And
idea actually?
instead of
Geopolymer
it,
is very old. We know about that geopolymer.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
what it is that the mainstream definitions for a lot of these places is that it's a geological formation, and he's saying no, this looks like it's actually poured. Why are they blatantly lying like this? And I do like that direction, of course. Yeah, Paul does some good work in that respect, without a doubt.
So he's kind of supporting what I'm saying that all this shit is mining byproducts, right?
I think Paul would be hip to the mining thing. Yeah,
No,
definitely. He might be
because
a good dude to incorporate maybe on one of these. Want to go?
no, I'm just saying because all these mining corporations
We
that are
talked
right
about that a
now
while ago.
exist. All these mining corporations still exist. And they have a bunch of PR departments which actually work with bloggers and create bloggers, which disrespectfully mislead the community with simply misleading ideas or not saying the cause of these anomalies that they found. They just blatantly talking, demagogically, rhetorically, uh, you know, muddying the water, and actually not saying a fucking thing, guys. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, what's the idea? All this geopolymer shit was found out like 5 years ago at least. And was proven completely that if you take something from the fucking ground under pressure, it's gonna be looking the same fucking way as a natural stone when it's gonna be drying out and petrifying into a rock. And we easily see it all around the Caucasus Mountains. That's what I was saying. Caucasus, guys. Caucasus is in the Black Sea, and American researchers found out recently, 5 years ago, that the civilization of the Black Sea was a lot older on the timeline than any other civilization. And they're right now doing the research in Bulgaria, which is quite opposite from the Caucasus, but still, what they're saying that in some way the Mediterranean waters flooded into the Black Sea and flooded the whole area, which was the civilized, that was a center of the civilization. That's why it's called Caucasians. Not because it's from the Caucasus Mountains, because the area. And probably the Crimea was the center of it, or maybe the northern part of the center. And
Hmm.
maybe all this stuff from Atlantis and flooding and all this global flood is all related to this single occasion of the flooding of the Mediterranean water, which was completely proven by the American scientists and the sediment research in Bulgarian shores. So all is already proven. We have to open the fucking eyes and understand that we came from there. The Caucasians came from there. That was the center of fucking civilization. It was first. Nobody found any fucking thing older than that for now. And we have to base our research on that. And all this Tartaria, little Tartaria, which Crimea was called, all these griffins on the emblems of the Crimea still existing, all this shit you can find out in the Greek mythology when the guys go to the Black Sea and find out the secrets, golden runes, you know, whatever. We call it runes, but actually the runic language is the language of your prehistoric ancestors, the Vikings, right?
Yes, I have a video clip that'll corroborate what you're saying about civilization coming out of the steppe. It's from a YouTube channel called UB and it's literally a 16-second clip. Philip, you want me to play it?
Why not?
They will corroborate.
If they copyright me, I don't give a fuck.
No,
by the way,
cool.
there's gonna be no recording of that shit. I cannot re-upload that because StreamYard got me fucked. Actually.
Well,
sorry. Sorry for my language today. I'm just a little bit pissed off lately, and I haven't been for a while. So
it's okay, Phil. It happens, dude.
And Dustin says I have a arrogant Russian accent or something like that.
Arrogant? No. I didn't say arrogant. No, I call you the Crussian curmudgeon. Because I'm a little bit grumpy too.
I don't know
man.
What's that. I don't know what's that. Crussian curmudgeon.
It's a term of endearment. Curmudgeon means like you're a little bit of a grumpy old man, and there's nothing wrong with that because I am. You're grumpy because you're smart about and you're content with being it. There's nothing wrong with that because I call myself. So it's a term of endearment. I'm busting your chops, but it's a good one. Okay, so you got it on your screen here?
Yeah, I'm trying to edit up.
All right, listen. Keep in mind what Philip just said, and again, this is a shout out to UBTV. America is Egypt. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but listen to what this dude is saying. Tartary is.
I'm not responsible for what he's showing. Ban him.
Exactly.
Ban him, not me.
All right, here we go. UBTV. Tartary, first plateau inhabited.
Quote, the cradle of symbolism used in all masonry is placed by many of the best authorities in that country which they believe was first inhabited, i.e. the plateau of Tartary, and from there transmitted to this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to, quote, the cradle of symbolism used in all masonry is placed by many of the best authorities in that country which they believe was first inhabited, i.e. the plateau of Tartary, and from there transmitted to this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to America.
Well, I kind of agree with that. You know, he was
very
saying exactly like, yeah. So let's do.
The
Tartary, the little Tartary on the maps was always in Crimea, right? The Tartary itself was a vast region. It has independent Tartary on the maps. It has Chinese Tartary. It has many Tartaries if you read this map. But the biggest one is located on the upper part of the map. You can see it. It has a lot of cities. It has a lot of towns there. It's highly populated. It's dense. A lot of cities. And all that area is completely wasted right now because it's a polar desert. And you have a huge layer of the mud which is frozen into the permafrost, so-called permafrost, along with the animals perfectly preserved in this mud. You can even find them and feed this meat to your dog, and even feed yourself if you're brave enough, actually, or hungry.
Are you familiar
enough.
with the YouTube channel Tartarian Truth? He recently did a parody channel, actually, but he's got another channel that. Shout out to Tartarian Truth. He recently did a video, Phil, that explains what you were just saying about how it was very highly populated in that area in the maps from like the 14th century, right? All the huge buildings that look like castles on the maps that are upside down. I would recommend checking that video out by Tartarian Truth, because he does, and then he shows all the pop marks of all the water things that will come up, and he likened it to the deluge, the flood. And I'm like, yeah, that could be. So it's like
It's a
coming.
spill. It's not the flood. We correctly supposed to call it, because flooding the area, it's like filling in the lower part of the landscape. That's called flooding actually. But the flood is different. When I called it mud flood, I just didn't realize I was saying two synonym words, and people might understand and disregard that, and put an equal sign to the so-called flood of the water type. I was saying just filling in, or it's what I'm flooding. That's what I'm, actually putting in this word.
Yeah, so I definitely watched that episode about Tartarian Tooth. He does explain in a good way Tartaria was that area. And again, that's how I look at it. And that's the approach that I take. I'm big on the
What is
main.
his takes on permafrost?
He didn't necessarily state the permafrost. He did identify and highlight all the holes that you guys have up in Siberia that are filled with water. And some of them are, he did give the term for them. That's what I love. I love giving, I don't care if, we go up against the mainstream in this research, and this is good for people to hear, but I still use the mainstream definitions and then track back off of that. So I don't go with the mystery first. I present what the mainstream says about it and their definitions and terms, and go off that.
Mainstream says that permafrost is a geological, weather reflected.
Topsoil that's been frozen over 1 year. It's been frozen solid for over 1 year. That's
but what are the mammoths in for? How
Right.
do you find the mammoths in? Right.
So do you think that that's evidence of the worldwide, like some people say, one deluge of mud?
No.
Me neither.
I'm just saying it's a spill which was affected by some weather conditions. What can we say about the weather? How can it immediately go down in temperature, which is freezing the creature with the food in his stomach, not digested? What was the freezing temperature about? It was about 18 degrees Celsius to do that, or maybe even lower.
Maybe lower.
Immediately changing temperature and the moisture of the mud could create this, actually, and maybe the animals could have been drowned and immediately frozen after that. So
Interesting.
why not? And you can find these bones everywhere. People are just making money on that. It's just ivory cost of bones.
That's interesting. That kind of plays in, that can actually tie in a segue to the mining, Philip, because a way in which they obtain those mammoth tusks out of the permafrost is they spray water on it with those monitors, those hydraulic monitors that we've discussed a lot back in the day, and I got a couple of videos about that. They actually do that. So they spray water on the tundra and it melts it immediately and it rushes down, right? And then it exposes what's under. They also do that to rock. It's actually a hydraulic mining process. It's detailed explicitly in one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies. I'll do a movie drop here. Movie called Pale Rider. What a great movie. But he goes up against the miners and the robber baron that wants to shoo out the settlers from their little plot of land because it's on a bigger plot that the robber baron wants to get. And then Clint Eastwood comes out of the mountains, a man out of nowhere, to help him out. And the robber baron has a hydraulic, what's the name of it? Strip mining operation going, right? And when I was watching this, I'd seen it way, way back in the day, right, Phil, when I was a kid. When I was watching it again, and they started detailing the strip mining, I thought of you. I'm like, look at and actually Sean Penn is in it, a young Sean Penn, and his character is a scrub. He's the son of the robber baron, and he details the whole process of how they would divert a stream, send it downhill into a smaller and smaller tube, and that's how you get the hydraulic mining without any motor needed whatsoever. All you need is a change in elevation and a source of water, and you can make pressure like a like a jet. So yeah, that's how they get the or the mastodons out of the permafrost. Yeah, you know what? That is an interesting facet of the research. And again, I aim more towards doing my field work here in Buffalo because I think it is a good cross section of a possibly ancient city. But what happened in Siberia in the northern part, where they did have a lot of old cities? I mean, that's your neck of the woods, though. What do you really think happened there? It almost looks like they got bombed,
Which
or
one?
maybe it was the patch of land where we're talking about in Siberia, where the permafrost is and all those holes are. Why
Well,
were there
yeah,
so
but
many cities there, and now it's blank? That there is an anomaly there. You know, Tunguska plays a factor in here, and then you can loop in
no,
Tesla with that.
Tunguska, yeah, Tunguska is way different because nobody found actually the rock or anything. So I don't
Right?
know
Yeah,
what
it's in that
was the
area
cause
though,
of that.
Siberia.
Yeah, yeah, we saw plenty of photos, but could these photos be the cause of something else, right? Well, returning to the question, what was the probably what was destroying it? We returning to the temperature change. So, what could actually affect the temperature change, the immediate, downgrade of temperature? What? The large amount of water poured in an atmosphere would do that. How do you take that? You make that from burning the damn woods. Immediate, complete, fast burning of woods. You get all this moisture popping up in the atmosphere and collecting very fast if you do that. If you have all these forests burned. And if we're talking about the no forest landscape of the beginning of 20th century, of first photographs in 19th century, we found out that no forest actually. So that could be actually the cause of the immediate freezing temperatures in the northern parts of Eurasia, which froze the spill of the infrastructure due to the infrastructure takeover. So if you bomb the area with a carpet bombing, basically, you get all this result. Because you can bomb infrastructure at the same time you're gonna hit the forests with this, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know,
what the landscape looks like.
Greek fire, yeah, Greek fire, all this stuff
Yes.
that burns and burns and you can't take down the fire, right? That could be used that time during the carpet bombing. You can get this immediate vaporizing of these forests, and these can ignite the atmosphere to be frozen, and the temperature would be low. Even if it's not wintry, it can be in the summer, and you're gonna get minus 40 immediately in that area.
We
Immediately.
got a comment here from, I want to say what's up to Flat Fact. Welcome. Good to see you. Michael Joshua Lewis, good to see you too. Brian A. Metz, good to see you. So Michael Joshua Lewis said, Antarctica froze then too. It was the Carrington event of 1859. So that refers to a mainstream, a solar flare that in 1859, right?
Well, solar flare can burn the forest too, right? We can, put out
allegedly. I don't believe in
big lands that can burn the forest. You're gonna turn the lands, burn the forest, right?
Archimedes lens, possibly, right?
Yeah, whatever. So,
well, he said he goes on to say, Michael Joshua Lewis goes on to say, the Carrington event was the cause of the mud flood. I disagree, but I appreciate your input.
Well,
good to see you.
At some local area, some event could be a cause of something. Of course,
local.
You have to research. Not
local.
We are talking only about the regional events, not the worldwide. Because tsunami of mud moving at high speed, and it has to be moving at a high speed. Otherwise, it won't be global. It's going to be settled.
Agreed. Right. It would destroy everything.
It has to be moving at a high speed. You cannot have that.
Yeah, but it would destroy everything.
We don't have any evidence of that. We don't have any evidence of that.
Exactly.
So it has to be like, 500 yards.
Or it's local events. Like that's what I've been saying and putting out on my Instagram and stuff. Like a Lahar that is from a volcano, maybe 100 miles away, has been. There are instances, I forget off the top of my head, where it does bury a whole village in like 30 feet of mud. And the characteristics that are laid afterwards literally just look exactly what people are saying the mud flood is. So I think that we have to be very smart
No, no,
about
no.
it. Hold on. Well, go
If
ahead.
it's preheated, it's different. If the mud is preheated, it looks different. It's more fine. It doesn't have any rocks in it, which we find everywhere near these buildings. If we, do the excavation, I can see what the sediment looks like. All these cultural layers look like exactly one same solution. The petrified mud, and it
Well,
looks
that's what
like clay. It looks
all
like
I
clay.
was
It's dirty clay.
saying with that, Phil, is I'm hip to the game of where I just like to show other natural mechanisms that produce the same visible effect of what people say the mud flood is, because
No, you have to do it near the house. If you find it near the house, that's what the people talk about. People don't talk about the mud on the mountains. That's only mythologists do. They produce degenerate ideas about where the mud can come from when you literally look at the mining and you see where the mud comes from. I don't know. What are we discussing actually? The mud on the mountains, on the hill, on the valleys, or the mud near the houses, near the construction buildings which we found with 2 or 3 basement floors underground? What
here
are
I'm
we
going to
talking
share.
about?
I'll tell you what I'm talking about. It'll be better. It'll help you understand. I don't want to get lost in the sauce here. Okay. All I'm doing is showing
I'm the
different.
sauce.
No, here's the deal. I just want what I'm saying is I don't want to be antagonistic to people who say that it was one global mud flood inundation. I believe, in my opinion, that
Who's
Michelle.
saying that? Who's saying
Okay,
that?
hold on, Phil. I believe that Michelle Gibson has said that before, and I respect her research, and I've
Michelle
been on
Gibson.
conversation with her. Let me finish here. Some people say, or conspiracy are us. Hey, hello, everybody. That dude said that dude will find mud or a mosaic thing under a foot of mud, or see a mud flooded house, quote unquote, and he will literally say in the next sentence that I believe that it's from this single event and a realm wide event. Like he says it. Now I'm going to show you an example here. Look at your confused
You
face.
know, no, pause
Says
it. I know
go ahead.
why they're doing that.
They're
I know
pushing a
why they're
certain
doing that.
narrative. Yeah,
Because there are
catastrophism.
two types of researchers of the mud flood, anomaly. First type is the ones that say, guys, it happened not that long ago. Maybe
I agree.
19th century was the last
Right.
time when it was happening. And the other part of these researchers say, oh, it happened long ago. Oh, very, very long ago. And I'm not even discussing that actually, because those people who saying it happened long ago, they don't have fucking eyes. They don't see the buildings of the 19th century on the documents that said it was built in the 19th century. That's what I was talking about actually, from the day one.
Yeah, we discussed it too. Yeah, that's what all. So there are natural events, whether it's the rising of the banks of a river and it deposits silt, where civilization has been built next to rivers and river deltas since the beginning of, when they say Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. That happens. When you see, I'm looking for a good example to pull up on my IG right now to show this better. There are other natural mechanisms that can cause the same thing, what you see, that some people, for example, conspiracy are us, says that is proof or of one realm-wide or global mud flood inundation. I strictly disagree with that, because I've shown other natural mechanisms that show the same thing. That's all I'm saying, as far as the mud flood goes.
With the buildings.
Yeah, I'm going to show you right now. I'm looking down on my IG. There's a really good example. Well, in this specific example, it was a Lahar that traveled away from the volcano.
With the buildings.
Yeah, it's a really good one. It's called
Okay.
it's called the sand. For people that are listening, it's called, if you just do an image search for
And it has
sand.
clay in it.
I don't know. You have to look up the specifics of what the volcano was. All I'm going to show you is that people will look at this and say that this evidence is proof of a one realm-wide event. That's all I'm saying, Phil.
No, I'm saying that you have to look at the same specific tactics each and every time.
Okay, here,
Take a
share my
look
screen.
fucking around you, and you find the answer.
Yep, you gotta, the fuck around scale. If you don't fuck around, you'll never find out. Okay,
Boots on the ground.
field work.
boys.
Too many people are saying that. It's kind of played out. I like saying field work now. That's
Yes.
the actual official definite term for it too.
If you
Okay.
want to find the mud flood field, you gotta do the field work.
Okay, look at dead center of your screen.
Okay, what's that?
This is the San Guillermo Parish Church picture with the bottom half buried under 6 meters of lahar. Some people will literally just use that picture and say it's a. I've seen this before. I'm not going to get into saying who it is or whatever, pointing out names. You see a lot of videos like this on TikTok. It's going crazy on TikTok. Oh, look at its mud flood. Actually, when you get into the specifics of that article, and guys go on my IG, I drop a lot of gravy on there in between episodes. But this is what it rebuilt in 1886. The structure is now literally half of its previous glory. The church's bottom half is buried under 6 meters of lahar from the eruption that swallowed the town and most of the province. It still serves, this is very important right here, it still serves the town's faithful who access the building through what used to be second windows converted into doorways. This is not proof of a one event realm-wide mud flood.
Well, why do you believe that? Actually, did you cross-check it, or you just believe the Instagram?
That's my Instagram, and
no. Did you cross-check it? Where's the evidence actually of what you say? I don't see any evidence except that you posted this low-resolution picture here. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm saying is you have to post
the
about
right
the same theme again and again and again and again. Say posting this Santa Lahara 5 times. With post about this, post about that. This proves this proves that. I don't know what this proves, guys.
Oh, all I'm saying is that it shows that what people call one realm-wide global mud flood inundation actually could be explained by something.
I don't know who is calling that. People will say a bunch of shit. Actually, I don't listen to people. I listen to certain.
You got it on the ball. You know, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
The opinion leaders or whatever you call them. You go to opinion leader. You both go to specialist. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. You know that.
Oh yeah.
That's my tactics.
So I think people who are following along understand what I'm getting at. All it is showing that what people call a proof of a mud flood necessarily always isn't. There's a lot more natural mechanisms, and a lahar is one of them. Also, just sedimentation and depositing of sediment from the flora and the fauna.
Have you heard about mud volcanoes?
Oh yeah, from you back in the day. That's another one too.
It's not me who's saying about that. It's science.
You're the first one that I've heard from.
I'm saying that's just the remnants of the previous mining. It's the evidence of previous mining. People were drilling holes, and these holes are sealed right now. You know, all this stuff that could be sealed in the well can be rusted out, can be decomposing from century to century, and then eventually you see this eruption of something from below, like a mud or something. And literally it's a mud. It's a water with some composure or solution of elements, including metals, granite, sands, quartz, whatever. And when this stuff is floating, it looks like clay. The difference between the eruption clay, which is called the ash, is that this clay was cooked in some high temperature, so-called, maybe 200, 300 degrees below. Below the surface, but it was cooked somewhere, Mike Ferreira thinks it's all staged, but we see actually on the sides of the mud volcanoes that it's all heated up back, down below. And you see this hot mud coming out. It's not cooked, it's hot, it's boiled. So I'm saying that the boiled mud looks like a natural stone when it's drying out. It can be, misinterpreted as a rock. It can be misinterpreted as a dust if it's, a very fine part of it. But it has little rocks in it. It's not perfectly, like a cement type of, clay.
All uniform sizes.
What do you do with when you finish?
Share the screen so people can see.
What is that?
No, it's
Yeah.
all mud volcanoes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Look at this.
Very interesting.
It looks kind of gray when it's coming out because it's wet, but when it's drying out, it's the same color as the rest of the soil around because all the soil around the mud volcano is that mud volcano. It's growing each and every day. I've seen those mud volcanoes growing. Yeah. So what I'm saying is ash is different from that mud that's come from mud volcanoes because it's even more cooked. It's, heated to the higher temperatures than just mud boiled, you know, and it looks different. And even the process of oxidation and burning could exist when this, heated mud, heated to the high temperature mud comes out when it's erupting so cold under the huge pressure from underneath. Why can't it go? Because you can have gas, you can have oil anywhere underneath, or anything can be flammable actually. So it's easy to burn that stuff and easy to cook it. So probably people knew how to do that back in the days. But I'm not saying all these volcanoes that are erupting right now are not natural. They could become natural from time to time because when stuff gets burned, it's very hard to put the fire down. We had the cases with the mud coming out with the gas on the gas field in the Soviet Union. Then they were using nuclear charge to put down the fire. They drilled a hole with a 45 angle and placed the charge underneath the spill, which was burning. Nobody could put down the fire. I have this in my fucking video. It's documentary. You can watch it. Mud volcanoes versus a mud flood or something like that. You can find it probably if you do it. But all this it's not just made up fact. It's literally happened not that long ago. I've seen a bunch of fires that have been put down in United States, and that's a hard thing to do. So I admit that volcanoes could be something that was catastrophic back in the days with the spill or maybe burning or something melting inside. Who knows? Actually, nobody's letting the people in. You have to be some licensed motherfucker to go in, And all these motherfuckers could be controlled for sure. I've seen one of them. He was actually banning my videos for using his footage. The guy contacted me actually. He said, I'm the one who was inside this motherfucking volcano. Use my fucking footage. I said, what the fuck? I don't use your footage. And he showed me. Yeah, it's his footage.
Interesting. Let me address.
Fucking surprised.
Let me address this right quick. So Brian A. Metz, I appreciate you. And Rob Files, I appreciate you. He says, the difference between Phil and Dustin, Phil will go against the grain, whereas Dustin will agree with whatever he's doing a vid with. Rob goes on to say, yeah, gravy. So, hey, hold on. Rob, are you familiar that my name on my channel was Bushwhacking Tartaria with Berserker Bear? I go against the grain. And as a matter of fact, I was in the boat with Woody.
And they tied him in the basement and he changed the name of the channel.
Yeah, even before AWAR, actually. So I don't mind going against the grain whatsoever.
Now, what's against the grain?
If you think that I go with what the flavor of the month is, I mean, I appreciate your feedback and your input, but I vehemently disagree with you. And I go with the evidence. And maybe you're confused with me being presented new information, and I'm perfectly okay with changing my mind when I'm presented with new information, which is what people should do. Flavor of the month, that's real funny, and I appreciate the feedback, but I disagree with you.
That's a professional professional influence, the influence of your profession, man. That's why you probably look that way for some people.
Well, that's what you said about initially. Like, yeah, I'm like, I sit in a lot of different hats. Like your Russian thing is, it's because I don't want to make any claims. I work in a capacity in my job, my job full time. I have to be very wary about what I say commercially, legally, because I cannot make claims. I collect commercial debt. I deal with lawyers and attorneys and stuff, and terms and conditions and contracts. And when our clients place a file with us to collect on it, it is a claim because they are claiming that a debtor owes them money. I can't speak in claims in that context, and that dribbles over into my research. So I'm very, very wary about never making claims unless I have specific, citable, presentable proof. So
So you
that
don't
might be
you
why
don't
people
see the
think that
proof when you don't see that proof in my words, right?
we're
You think
working
I'm
through it
not
together.
claiming. So if my evidence is not enough for you, it's probably not enough for anybody else, right? Because you are so, decisive in questioning the topic.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's the thing. People might want people. I can understand why people get maybe they want me to take a stand or whatever. I don't know. I'm perfectly okay with saying I don't know. I don't just because I don't agree with certain tenets of other people's research. I'm not saying that I know it and you don't, or I'm right and you're wrong. But we can disagree and move forward. And if I disagree with one facet of your research or whoever's, doesn't mean I disagree with it
What do
all.
you disagree? What do you disagree with?
That
Again,
was just an
let's go
example I was
again.
saying. No, that was just an example of what I was saying, addressing with
No,
Brian.
I mean, what do you
Oh,
disagree on? Maybe
Berserker
you know
Bear.
somebody who disagrees with me. What are they
We're
disagreeing
getting
on?
off topic. I don't even know what you're getting at. Berserker Bear, I salute you, my brother. I've been keeping up with Stuff Beagle and just investigating the mud floods everywhere. I find interesting. Yeah, just keep looking around. That's all I can say. That's one thing that got me interested in this, watching videos like Philip, videos from Autodidactic. Um, starting to see, like I said, Buffalo is a good cross section of a lot of the different facets and tenets that we look at in this alternative history community, whether it's the buildings or whether it's the infrastructure with the canals. Buffalo is prime location, and I'm in a good spot to be able to showcase it for you. So I might not be
When
doing the
this
right thing, and I might say I might misspeak a lot because I don't edit. I just hit record and go. So, but
well, people.
like Owen Benjamin says, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying. I really dig that one a lot. So that's
Well,
how
I'm
I
not
roll.
sure what was mined in the Norwegian fjords, but I'm pretty sure they have gas around it too. So might
There
as
goes
well
some
be.
gravy.
Yeah. So gas is all Norwegian place. So and if you have gas, that means somebody was doing something before, because gas is not a natural thing. Actually, I don't believe it's natural, and
I'm
science
sorry,
also
I'm
doesn't
lost.
believe.
What are we getting at here? Addressing the question. What do you say? Hey Phil, what do you think? What's been mined at Norwegian fjords? What do you think?
So, what I'm saying, I don't know what's there. Maybe iron, I don't know, but who knows actually? But I know the gas is the place for mining gas is there, so it's still mined there. So gas could be one of the leading things that can make the infrastructure grow. If you don't have the gas from the scratch, you have big problems because you cannot support all the production along with this mining. You cannot support the logistics. You cannot support this supplying facilities. It's
Civil
impossible.
civilizations, the Babylon
Yeah,
civilization, right? It's
not
age
only
old.
Babylon, any civilization. I mean, what I'm seeing is actually that each and every Star Force city was actually developed upon the infrastructure that was gas provided. And the lighting in the recent photographs and reports from the medieval European cities was all based on gas. Paris lighting, street lighting, I mean. So the infrastructure was there, the gas was there. Of course, they didn't have all these pipes to make all this, gas efficient, gas
Well,
transportation. But
we
they sure had it, and they sure had it locally, each and everywhere. So they didn't have these transportation pipelines like we used to have today, and which is actually the case of current situation in Ukraine, because the Nord Stream 2, Nord Stream 1 has been exploded recently. That's the first time in recent history when the diversion or sabotage act like that occurs on a European territory, or European controlled territory. I mean, the explosion of the pipelines. I would call it the 911 in commercial business. And back in the days, we used to have the same. We used to have these commercial wars. And I think that's the cause of these separation processes of this empire to be split it into smaller states first. You know, all these dynasties started to quarrel, started to have a beef, and started to fight. Okay? What do you think of that? Have you watched recent series of Game of Thrones, which called it's about dragon races, Targaryens. They call them
Okay.
Targaryens.
Yes, I'm
No,
familiar with it. I watch Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker a lot, those dudes, because they do movie reviews, but I haven't watched Game of Thrones at all.
so the
Actually,
script is basic. There was Targaryens. They were controlling the place, and then their empire broke down, and all this shit from the Game of Thrones happened. So this is a prequel from that. So, I mean, they were talking about those Targaryens back in the first season.
do you think it's supposed to be like a synonym for Tartaria, or they're trying to play off?
I think they know the idea. You know, all this dragon thing is just basically I was proving that many times. I'm saying is that technology. Dragons is the obtaining of the technology. Perhaps this is
Ooh, okay.
jet fighters. You know, jet fighters.
Interesting. So you
Bombers.
think ancient? So are you going along the lines of like ancient high technology, Brian Forster? Or
Of
okay,
course.
so I would disagree that. I would say maybe there was high technology back in the day. That's an interesting insight, though. Like they were describing this ancient tech, maybe fighters, as a dragon. I happen to think actually, though, that dragons were real, and the
Well,
historical
you
obfuscation is dinosaurs, in my
you
opinion.
jumped in too early because I'm
Oh,
the
how
guy
dare me!
who's saying that we used lizards back in the days as a home pets.
Hmm?
Lizards, big lizards.
Oh,
Yeah, we call them
lizards.
lizards. Yeah, big lizards. They look
Oh
like
yeah,
kind of
dude.
yeah, like big camels and stuff like that.
Here, share screen.
And he just jumped out. Let him return. Yeah, some videos of mine back in the days I was showing about um, so-called reptilians and lizards, how they, all on ancient pictures and images. So you might as well take a look at that. Oh, he returns. What up?
Sorry about that. Instead of hitting share screen, I hit least video. What are you saying about big lizard? I don't got to share screen, but I think that there is a truth drop historically when they the Pleistocene megafauna. Back at the last ice age, 10,000 years ago, when everything was way bigger, like from short-faced bears to huge ground sloths. It's like this is why we poke holes in the mainstream explanation of things. Like we're not saying everything is fake and we're all being lied to about everything. There's conjecture and there's like nuance and everything. They'll make you believe that there was huge megafauna 10,000 years ago and dinosaurs 30 million years ago. But when you propose the notion that dragons might have been real, you get laughed at and scoffed at by the mainstream, and it's like all we're saying is no pass go with that shit anymore. You guys are throw the red herring up of history in the bottleneck of academia, and whether it's space and we can only look at certain things through instruments that they have lock and key to, or the historical record of history, and all the conjecture with that and the timeline of 30 million years ago. We really don't know what happened prior to 6,000 years ago, before that recorded history. So all we're saying with our alternative history research, and this might be like general overview of like the whole umbrella of looking at things from a different angle. We're not, again, with the claims, I'm not claiming anything. I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. All of mainstream is wrong. All we're saying is that these ideas that they propose, for example, megafauna of the Pleistocene era, and these huge dinosaurs from 30 million years ago, but we can't propose the possibility that dragons may have been real. Again, I'll say no pass go. These are questions that need to be asked. Greek fire being utilized in a different capacity back in the day, like you brought up earlier. I don't believe necessarily in the realm wide mud deluge. Could be, in my opinion, evidence of the global flood, the biblical flood, and everything else after that is like localized, like we talked about, and then everything historically speaking, the the victor has the pen, and in retrospect, anything can be labeled a catastrophe. They're going to label what's going on right now with the COVID and the Rona. They're going to label this a catastrophe. Like 30 years down the road, and they're going to say, "Oh, everything was crazy," and they'll say this was a catastrophe. It always can be labeled something more drastic in hindsight to confuse people and say it was this and not our fallen nature as man trying to get over on the other man. In a very general sense, that's what I think we're seeing here with.
I'm sorry these dragons spoke to you that much. Okay, haha,
I got
we
a,
don't
I got
really
an
know what
episode on
happened
dragons.
100. Yeah, we don't really know what happened 150 years ago. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, yeah. But
And I'm
dinosaurs
not.
30 million years ago. Okay, I mean, what okay.
Yeah, everybody gets video on that, and everybody's doing video on that because it's obviously the topic of discussion.
Yeah, flat
But what
fact.
I'm
Exactly.
what I'm saying is sometimes the interpretation of some unnatural animals which we don't have any evidence of existence, or found skeletons or something of dragons, right? We don't have it in official field, right?
No, we
But
don't. Right. Yeah. Well,
we have to. We
maybe
can imagine. We can suppose. We can discuss it. Why not?
maybe some of the dragon
But
fossils are, or some of the
but
dinosaur fossils might be.
what is the dragon supposed to be connected to the community, to the society? What with? Of usage of the dragon, or controlling of the dragon. I mean, the guy is controlling the dragon. That's the idea. If you
Right.
control the dragon, you become the dragon. If you become the dragon, you become the
Right. It
governor
it,
of the people.
it
That's
represents
what the
us.
idea was.
Yeah, exactly, Phil, and that's kind of what I got in my presentation about dragons. It becomes the hero going to slay the dragon, and in some cases he becomes a dragon and tames him,
In
like
all
in like in
cases,
like in
he becomes the dragon every
right.
time.
And so it represents a cycle of things effectively,
Yeah,
and that's where you get the
change.
the dragon eating its tail, and I just think that that's a good symbol of how, unfortunately, fallen civilization falls back on itself, and you might say that that's the induction of, some people say, parasites or whatever. I think that rot is always there. It's always on the back of a log ever since the flood, really, effectively, unfortunately. It could be an interjection of parasites. Me, from my angle, like of faith and creation, I think that rot is always there, and it's a aspect of the fallen nature of man, unfortunately, that if we can't move forward and have respect for one another, this will always happen. And again, we fall back on our face. The cycle of the hero going against the dragon. There's a saying that we talk about in the bear community. Um, uh, Strong men make easy times. Easy times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. Hard times make strong men. And repeat. Effectively, that's a really good way, a summation of the dragon repetition of things, the Ouroboros, the dragon eating its tail.
Yep, exactly. But you're switching the topic from the actually cargo code. The cargo code is the thing that can explain every damn thing that we see in the churches, in the temples, in the mythology, in the history, which is not explained.
Ancient high
Because if you,
technology.
if you find some comparison to the modern things, you find out that that's a cargo code of some ancient technology. I mean, they were depicting actually what they were seeing, not even knowing how it works. And they were constructing the object as what they was visualized by them. That's why you see these oil platforms as temples everywhere, and the people resting on one level, like having a shift, somebody sleeping, somebody sitting, somebody standing. One top guy sits in front of them and looking at them. two guards guarding all this stuff. I don't know what they guarding from whom. Everybody is them actually. The second floor is even bigger, guys. And then you have the flat floor, which you can walk on the oil platform the same. So I mean, it's totally depicting the oil platform, and you have these dragons everywhere on these.
Interesting.
Yeah, dragons. What is dragon? You look at this. This is a big, like snake-looking creature, and with the head of a dragon, of course. But it's electricity. Actually, depicting the electricity. You know, blah, 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 bites you. I mean,
I could
some
see
type
that.
of yeah. So, I mean, I have all this film. I'm not gonna be showing this right now because I can get my ass kicked from here. So actually, for this, I've been saying that. But anyways, we have all this stuff everywhere. You go to the place where you can find these cargo codes, depictions. You know, that's why these saint, you know, we don't call them saints, we call them priests. Priests. These priests in Russian Orthodox Church, they dressed up like electricians. You know, with this, all
Interesting.
this not insulation, but you know, protection, uh, protection wear from the electricity charge being hitting you. All this atmospheric electricity constructions
Well, that's the
everywhere.
thing. You know what that makes me think about, Philip, is like the whole thing about if there was the Antiquitech and the free energy and they were able to take it out of the sky, you know, I think that there's a common thought that comes after that because people tend to be good on a um, people are more good, I think, inherently good. I think that there tends to be a follow up of like, oh, if it was free energy, I would think the people who were harnessing it must have been good and benevolent too. You got to maybe take
No,
a step
no,
back
no.
from that, and they were probably utilizing that just like they're doling out stuff now, where, oh, it was all free, and I'm being a little bit humorous here, but oh, all free energy and unicorns and butterflies and
No, no,
Tartarian
no, no,
giants.
no.
They could have been using that to
Using.
control you.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
guys
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
It could have been dark,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
this is talked about before. They could have doled it out just like they're doling out energy now
Yep,
and bottlenecking it.
yep.
It doesn't just because they may have been obtaining antiquitech and energy from the aether, it doesn't also stand that it was benevolent. And you know, that's in a perfect world that would be great. Of course it would. I tend to think more that you have to work for your energy or whatever, but just saying that the notion that it was free energy and the people who were harnessing it had benevolent intentions, I think is uh,
Yeah,
getting a little bit away from us, right?
yeah.
Maybe it
You're
was
repeating. Yeah, you're repeating it. But you know, I totally agree with you. All these guys were working in this ancient mining corporations. They were mining this place. They were using this population, these local folks. It's probably some, you know, sexual abuse. I don't know, human trafficking. I don't know what they were using for. Maybe they just
unfortunately
exchanging some fruits with them. I don't know.
the descendants of Cain and their
Who
mining.
knows? But we can see that the behavior of the conqueror of some certain colony in the recent past in many countries and was documented in India and you name it was very, 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 very hard on the local people. Local people were suffering. And even some countries right now talking about the reparations from these countries that were colonizing them back in the days, right?
Yeah, we're dealing with that right
So,
now in America. Yeah.
returning to your point about weak man, all these cycles, and snake eating his tail, uh, I can say only this: that you have this in the technology also. You have this high technology level, then you lose it, you go down to so-called level of medievals, where people can actually make some create, you know, mechanism, but not even, you know, using some direct link to the energy. They lost this link to the energy.
Like the artifacts, like old tech artifacts, maybe.
Yeah, all this mechanics was superior, right? All these
Interesting.
detailized crafty mechanics, you cannot repeat that right now. You can find these devices everywhere, but they didn't have this free energy connection to these mechanics. That's where they lost it.
Hmm.
But they still were advanced in mechanics, and this mechanical knowledge brought us to the new level of technological raise, minimization of information into small integrated chips, which right now is the case of the future war. with Taiwan. I'm
Whoa,
not talking
whoa,
about
whoa,
that.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, this microchips is the case of the war. Is the object of the war. That's
Sounds
why
like a movie
everybody.
plot. It sounds like the Departed movie plot.
Yeah, you cannot create any weapons without these microchips. You cannot create any advanced technology devices. Very thin one, for example, or microchip. China doesn't have microchip production as good as Taiwan has.
Wow, really?
USA doesn't have as good microchip production as Taiwan has. So Taiwan is the world leader in that. And if you cancel Taiwan, if you block Taiwan, if you surround Taiwan with some fleet, that's a case of war. That's what Chinese and Americans are right now playing out for the public. They're dancing around Taiwan because Taiwan was promised by Americans back in the days for Chinese. Chinese were never a country. They became a country only in late 40s. And Taiwan was separate from them. In the 70s, in my video 1971, by the way, all this topic was discussed. How it all happened, how all this crap that we see around right now happened, how it was started. It started back in the days in 1971,
I
actually.
remember you saying that. Yeah, I remember that one. That was
So-
a very informative episode.
The best president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, who is actually the worst and raped by the people. The best president of the United States, he sold American technology and directed American production to China, which made China the world leader in everything right now. You name it, except microchips. That's the only thing that's blocking China from being near your house.
No, I think the Chinese invasion was Walmart. It's already happened. It's not going to be
Chinese
in my
invasion. I have Chinese everything on me.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? Chinese
Americans
invasion?
don't shop at Walmart. Well, I'll explain it to you in these terms. Walmart and Super Walmart put a lot of local businesses on your average main street in Main Street America. Walmart put a lot of those businesses out of business because you can just go there. And that's a very good example, very general example, but in my opinion, I believe that was the Chinese invasion. I don't think that there's going to be mechanized war as we think about it, from even like 30 years ago.
It's ongoing, man. It's ongoing.
Yeah, true that. Definitely it's ongoing.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at? That's a proxy U.S.-China war by. You think Russia would be
what's
in
going on in
war with the
Ukraine?
West? Yeah,
Ukraine
you
is
think Russian
proxy.
would be. No, you think
You guys
Russia is the same proxy as Ukraine?
Yeah, I get it.
It's the
I
same
get it.
proxy.
Yeah, you know. Yep.
Russia wouldn't be in war with the whole West by
It's
himself.
all about interests and generating narratives
Right
for
now,
money, print money.
Iran is helping Russia. China is definitely helping Russia by buying every fucking thing from
Dude,
Russia.
the world is sick of Americans. Let me apologize on behalf of my government. Well, the interests that are in my government to the whole world. Okay, we don't agree. I love my country, and I know that there needs to be a government. I'm not one of these ANCAPs that say we got to destroy and burn down the government. No. The crowd, the woke crowd that grabs the torches and the pitchforks. This is very important. Listen up, guys. The woke crowd that goes and grabs the pitchforks and the torches to go to the castle and burn the castle down, or the wizards in the White Towers. That group burns itself out and kills itself before it even gets to the castle. So let me just be a voice for my country here, if I could. I don't agree with what we do in our foreign policy. It doesn't represent Americans on an individual basis at all. So if there's anybody out there listening outside of America, what our foreign policy does and our government does in our name over the realm does not stand for what we are. And we're all people. We all
like
know
the
that.
same countries we just named: Iran, China, Russia. You think they controlled by the people? No, it's a small group of people. It's a little clan.
I agree.
In China, we have a battle of clans.
That
right
power's
now.
being upset right now, though. That little group of people, whatever you call it, archons or parasites or just rich oligarchs who are fallen men, I guess is a good term that I'll put as. Yeah, I agree. It's a small group, but that I think that power structure is being really challenged right now because of what's going on in the Great Awakening or whatever. So just keep your heads up and your faiths up, guys. Or, the light at the end of the tunnel that we're all in collectively. I say this all the time. It's not an approaching freight train coming to knock us out. It's daylight. We're moving towards daylight. There's going to be a rough ride, but keep your heads up.
Okay, maybe any other ideas. So what I'm right now on,
Yeah.
I was
What do
on
you think?
actually this year. I was discussing the establishment, founding of the city of St. Petersburg, and I found this person, interesting person. She was actually she had a diploma in all this stuff that is supposed to have a guide. She's an official guide. She has these credits from everything. She even went to Sweden. She has a nationality of not Russian. She's mixed. She's like Finno-Ugrish Russian, something like this. So she has a lot of access because of her nationality. She understands the language of the ancient people living in that area around St. Petersburg. And she found out a bunch of stuff. And we had a chat with her. I don't know if you watched it. And so I filmed a bunch of stuff there in St. Petersburg. And I don't even posted anything yet. I posted like a small portion of it. And I was on it actually before I left. And then all this fucking war got crazy. And so right now I'm kind of on pause on what I was doing. And I'm seeing all this stuff here in Eastern Asia, Southeastern Asia. I see all this stuff, the same stuff as we have in St. Petersburg. I mean, the cargo cult, the so-called civilization of so-called trade union. You call it whatever, trade, mining union. I call it trade union because mining is...
I say trade, yeah.
Yeah, I call it trade because, the mining word tar it's connected to trade. The tar word itself is a cargo. It's collecting something, it's put something in some package, tar. And you also connect it to weight because tar is connected to weight. It's a weight measure. Also tar, turn, and so on. Tor, tar, tur, whatever. It's all connected to turning, to moving, to exchange. That's why trade is also connected to mining and exchange of goods.
Right. Yeah, I think that the mining would probably actually finance a lot of the trade, right, as a base currency.
Yeah, that's why Tartaria, because Tartaria was a supplying place. It was a region that was supplying with goods the rest of the world. It was easy to mine. A region, a huge region, a huge part of the world.
That may have just
Tartaria, because it's big,
That may have just undergone a civilizational collapse and easy to pick on, right? From the outside, maybe, allegedly. Is that what we're seeing here? Because fallen men or ancient high technology, I don't agree, but did they fall as a civilization because they got too hubris and too, who knows? I mean,
no, you got this tar also. Tar is mining. It's connected to dirt, to the miners, Yeah, Khan is the name of the military governor, which was elected by the council.
Notice how all those tribes are underneath Tartar, right? So they're all delineated under Tartar.
You have in Tartar crude. Crude is connected to oil, guys. It's all mining wastelands, I call it this way. It's all destroyed infrastructure of the previous civilization of the Empire of Ross. It's all the connection to the trade union, because the trade union was supplying the logistics from all these places and creating the paths of trade. And this trade union probably the one who is responsible for all this takedown of this previous empire. Because even in the script of so-called Star Wars, which is totally stolen from Russian mythology, you find that the first part was about so-called trade union occupation of a certain place, Why is that? Why did they steal this stuff? Because fourth and fifth and sixth part was totally stolen from Russian fairy tales. The
That's
script is
interesting. I didn't know
totally.
that, man. That's gravy.
Yeah, we also have this huge ball of power, which this huge evil guy who is immortal, who cannot die anyway. You cannot kill this motherfucker. Who has this all
So
this ball?
would you say that it's better apt at defining or characterizing the Tartarian Empire that was global? It was just a more cohesive um, a trade system that was realm wide, global wide, right? Whether it was benevolent or malevolent, it couldn't have been malevolent throughout because it would have never have established itself. I don't think. But to say one world Tartarian Empire might be a misnomer, might be better categorized as a realm wide trade network. And that kind of incorporates what I've been doing with the Vikings and them being here prior to Columbus. So, yeah, again, I'm not taking away from the whole Tartarian research or mud flood. I'm just being more specific, and this is my point
If
of view
you
of it.
if you research the Vikings, you
I
probably
could be
found
wrong.
out that a bunch of Vikings ships are found deeply buried in the mud.
Certain places they are, yeah. There's a lot of places where they are. There might have been one that was found here in America. I got to follow up on it. There is archaeological digs on the banks of Lake Ontario near the Erie Canal, which I do field work with my buddy Robbie Radbear a lot. So that's kind of the work that I'm getting at when I do that. And yeah, I got to follow up on that stuff. They found axes here too. So if I can find proof, like I got to do a follow up with Woody. Actually, Wood and Nichols was in Newport, Rhode Island, and there's a Newport Tower that's anomalous. They don't know really who built it. That could be a mainstream red herring, possibly, but they really don't know who built that. And Woody was there. He was got some pictures, and I got to follow back up with that. Just all coalescing into my hypothesis that maybe New York State was actually Vinland and the southernmost settlement of Eric the Red. I believe that New York State is actually Vinland. That's another hypothesis that I have.
Well, all the recent, let's see, what's a great comment. 1971, I was 6 years old. My mother brought home a coffee cup made in China. My father saw where it was made and broke it in the sink.
That is a great comment. That's hilarious. that guy sounds like a legend.
Yeah, let that sink in. Yeah. Okay.
Nothing against China, but you always got to say
Let's talk
that.
about resets. Let's just jump from whatever we were trying to rumble about and jump straight to the resets. What I'm saying is the reset is a procedure, and mud flood is one of the technological types of reset. Why technological? Because it's not connected to nature. It's not nature. It's not like a thunderstorm or I don't know, tornado that's coming out of nowhere. Even some people think that is not natural too. But let's say it's natural. Mud flood is not natural at all. It's caused by something that was priorly done by somebody or some company or some group of people.
Or
whatever.
a group of people. I have a good audio clip to show to corroborate what you just said.
Let me finish that.
Okay.
So the resets are cyclical events, talking about your cyclical thing, theory, topic, point that you've been just saying. So cyclic reset is cyclic. When you reset, it's not that you leave these people alone. You get rid of these people. You take whatever you need from them and get rid of them. That's what reset is all about.
And it happens
It
on a
can be-
smaller level. Yeah, people think when you say reset, it was like the whole realm, maybe, but it happens in smaller pockets of like we're
it
in.
can be a global level as the same points as I've been pointing out about the metal. It can be global. It cannot be produced globally at the same fucking time. It's not simultaneous. Hear me well.
Right.
Resets
Mhm.
are produced in the region step by step.
Local,
You can
regional.
do-
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Country by country. That's why
But-
they do these split ups from the big motherfucker. Because
Let
they
me
need
play
to
that clip.
operate them small ones. Okay?
Yes. Remember what I said about Pale Rider and the plot of Pale Rider? They're trying to get those homesteaders out of that plot of land because the robber baron wants the whole tract, right? That's what
Of
they're
course.
doing. that would be so for those homesteaders. In retrospect, you could take that as a little reset, right?
Of course.
Think of it in those terms, and then you can move rivers. The Tartars were actually moving and diverting rivers to flush out a civilization. That could be a reset, a small reset. Great point.
Look at the story. Look at the story of the Rushmore mountainside. How it all happened, and now how it all ends up with the construction of a new monument to that chief, Indian chief. I don't remember his nickname.
Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse or whatever.
They have another.
Who-
That's another monument entirely, I think, somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's
I
huge,
know
but-
that they create in it because of that, to contribute the pain and to address the pain that those people were suffering, because they took their
natives.
land after the deal they signed with these people, and
Right.
because of the mining cause, the mining aspects, they were mining this motherfucker. Okay, they found fucking gold there or something, right? And they just erased this people group, pushed them out of there.
So for
got
them
rid
people,
of
that
them.
was a reset, right? That doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean the whole realm has to be reset. That's what people,
That's
I think, make that immediate connection. It's like, no, there's just like there could be natural mechanisms that make a mud flood characteristic. Resets happen on small
Yeah.
villages are wiped off the map, and that's a reset. It's not always global. It's not always a whole
Yeah.
thing simultaneously.
And then you go to the Canadian schools that recently exposing the facts that they were found in the bodies of the kids, of local people who were educated in those schools. Thousands and thousands of victims, We know that. We know about biological craziness that we're expecting to be in the Western world. We are not expecting that, to hear that these facts. They were creating the artificial disease epidemics in the small groups of Indian tribes, using the pox and other bacteria,
possibly vaccines.
using alcohol.
Yes, guns too. Yeah, alcohol was a major one.
And these
Unfortunately,
people were not tolerant to alcohol at all. They were
No.
completely alcoholics after the first usage of alcohol. They were totally junks people. And that's how they got rid of such enormous group of people. And these people were led by the parasitic groups. They were controlling the world. They got
interesting.
rid of Tartaria, that got rid of everybody else, that kicked the ass of their competitors in Europe, and controlled the territory. The territory. The land of trade. The land of
Etymology.
mining. Yeah.
Really.
We
Well,
are
I
here in the land that is controlled by the mining corporations. And I don't know, I'm not sure if they take all this stuff, if they keep all this stuff here. Maybe they're taking this stuff somewhere else, to the other places, which I was talking about every time. I'm not saying we are having the only place here, guys. I was always saying we have a bunch of these places.
like what?
And the
More
reason-
land? More land?
Yeah, more places. I call it cell blocks. I mean,
Yeah.
cells. I mean the dome,
Could be a bunch of them. Yeah.
dome. The
Those
dome
other-
structure.
Those other
That's why-
domes could be what they call planets,
Yeah.
so they might not necessarily be lying per their lexicon, because they are other planets of the smaller. An et is a smaller of a portion. You know what I mean? So
Nah. You can go to etymology of plane net. You find out that the plane net is a network of plane.
right.
Network is connection of objects.
Well, you got-
The
it's
objects
plane-
are done.
When you add the ets at the bottom, at the end of in English, it means that it's a smaller of a whole, right? So plane et, a planet is a smaller portion of the larger plane, right?
Yeah,
Allegedly.
it's a planet. Yeah,
There you go.
planet.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
you're like talking about little version son. But
Exactly.
if you talk about the network, and if you read the ancient source, they talk about the layers, levels of integrated Earths. Each Earth was domed and was connected to each other. And in some mythologies, you find out that they locked the gates between those worlds from here, because our world is so-called central world, and it was called always a Midgard world.
Midgard, that's the Norse
Yeah.
stuff. Yes, the 9 realms
Not
of the
not
Norse.
not because of North, because it's in the center. It's the
No,
the
Norse.
logistic.
Norse, like Viking Norse, the 9 realms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Norse mythology.
yeah,
Sorry.
whatever. You know, it's connected in the mid between, and we have as, or you call it in English, you produce it ace, like the highest, the biggest card in the game, ace. Like the
Yeah.
ace may be the guy who flies the plane, who is a good fighter, like Top Gun, whatever. He's also ace. He's a top guy, top boss. But
How
what
dare
is
you.
ace actually? It's Asia. Ace is Asia. S as a first letter of alphabet. S as a first name. So if you look at that closely, you find out that Asgard is the top of world from the Midgard, right?
Interesting. Yes, yeah. Norse
And we
too.
had this connection, and now it's locked because of the takeover.
Did you see my recent video on Auckland Islands? That's why I think that there's an interesting thing. There's something going on down there, because you want to say locked. I brought up that notion about why the fuck is, excuse me, why is that island chain shaped like a key? You know, it's literally shaped like a key. It's extremely anomalous. So it's like, I just thought of that because you said locked, and that's my latest video out about Auckland Islands.
Yeah, because the
Who
system
knows?
system of navigation, how are these worlds connected? Actually, you ask me this question, I'll tell you how. They're connected via water.
That's what
Via
it seems.
water.
Underwater tubes, yeah. And when they say space, or they're going to space, they might actually be going. This is where it comes into
Outside.
Lex. Yeah, this is where they actually stay within their own, or whatever. For Elon
No.
Musk and his
I'm
handlers.
not. I'm pretty sure they're not going anywhere. These guys are not
Okay.
going any fucking where. They're so.
You don't think they could go to the
they
other
love money.
planets?
No, they go to the other planets.
Think it's
They
possible?
don't show it to us. They don't show it
Yeah,
to us. All
right,
this shit
okay.
that we see is totally staged.
No, what I'm
And
saying,
it's-
Philip, is that when they say they're going to Mars and they trick everybody like it's a red herring up in space, they're not lying in terms of speech. They're just not doing what they say. They are going to Mars, but it's actually another planet. Maybe, you know what I mean? So they're being a little bit misleading. People think they're going
Okay.
to like out in space, but they're actually
No,
it could be underneath in shoal.
No. You don't understand. Somebody's filming stuff in pool, right? Outdoor space, travel, like go outside.
Yeah, I get what you're
ISS.
saying. Yeah, I get
This
what you're saying.
could be filmed in the pool, right?
Yeah.
Something could be filmed on a green screen. Something that what they do inside can be filmed in a special pavilion, we call it. It's when you construct for the filming of something. You construct a huge motherfucker, and everything's inside. Something could be filmed when you go to the high altitude. Maybe you use a plane that time, and you film these films when they can actually move very freely in this in this place where you don't feel the so-called gravity, right? You can have it in the plane in a high altitude.
Yeah.
You
The
can have it.
the parabolic plane. Yeah.
Yeah. So
can mimic
something
it.
could be filmed there. So we have even right now some serious case in Russia because 2 years ago they sent a movie group with 2 people, a director who was filming everything, and an actress. Yeah, they sent them to the ISS. Totally unprepared people. I know who they are. She is a lover of one oligarch. He is also very related to the government. So they send them to space, promoting this idea that you can go to space just like this, just like ordinary person. So there's no no more need to practice these people for 10, 15 years to send them to space.
Right.
They can do it in 7 months. And so when they returned, they interviewed the actress, and she said, well, when we were lifting off, I didn't even feel that shit. Like they were talking about like this,
Yeah.
this, you know,
Yeah.
double
Mission to Mars.
G's. No 8Gs there, no 7Gs, no 6Gs, no 5Gs. 1.3 G.
It's a closed system.
It's an ordinary liftoff from every motherfucking plane that we use in our ordinary life. That's the effect that they felt. She
Right.
was saying it on camera. And we had that shit. We all humiliated her very much after that. You know, but they were totally
Bunch of
exposing
meanies.
the truth that you can go there just like that. You don't need a fucking day to train. You can go fuck your husband, take his money, go shopping, bring the stuff home, and go to the space, you know.
Yeah, I don't believe in space like that, but you know, it's all a ruse. It's like look here, not there. So they could be going to
fuck
other
space.
planets.
Fuck space. What
Yeah.
we were talking about.
In the words of RV Truth, Russian Vids, give me an absolute break. Shout out to Russian Vids. His channel just disappeared from YouTube.
Yeah,
he
he
is.
said he got deleted, so might as well do a chat with him soon.
Was he a Rockfin?
I'm in contact with him, so might as well do it.
Yeah, I know. Tell him I said what up. I like.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that we could disagree with anybody, but I didn't hear a thing from you. So let's just keep this tradition and finish up
Yes.
in 1 hour 30 minutes, something like that, because I don't want people to get to be bored of what we're talking about. I don't want them to switch off.
Yeah, we broke the
Everybody
ice
thanks-
again, Bill. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
everybody, thanks for coming, and we might as well do something else soon. So if you're
Definitely,
ready
Phil, and
to
when you-
talk on actual things that we disagree about, we can do it tomorrow.
you. Okay. Whenever you want, Phil, honestly. And when you get a new channel, of course, I'll help you out, share it however I can. So thank you for having me on as a guest again. Everybody that was in the chat, it's good to see y'all. And keep an eye out for the Berserker Bear in my next episode coming out soon. I always got work to do. So whenever I can, I'll get it out to you. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. See you guys later. Bye.